Welcome to Meditation and Aliens with Doro and Matt, a webcast that explores everything we currently know about the truth about aliens, human history, reality, consciousness, and the role meditation can do to help us understand all these things, and how we might all work together to build the best world possible for all beings, human or non-human alike. Meditation and Aliens is hosted by me, Matt Reddy. I'm an amateur ufologist. I have a degree in philosophy. I'm the creator of hive1.net. I'm also an elected public hospital commissioner in Jefferson County, Washington. Each week, I am joined by Doro Kiley, longtime meditator, a meditation teacher, and an experiencer with many stories, and life coach extraordinaire. You can find more about Doro at her website, creationcoach.com. Now, on to the show. And we're back for another episode of Meditation and Aliens. How you doing, Doro?
Oh, Matt, oh my goodness. I'm so excited that you called me right off the cuff and said we got to start talking about this. It's getting crazy out there. All these UAPs and UFOs and orbs. And so, yeah, right now it feels like everybody's like, what the is going
Yeah.
on? So I'm going to just let you take this all the way because I have no clue what's going on out there. Oh, I do want to tell you one thing.
Uh-huh.
My son, who lives here in Virginia in Blacksburg, he called me last week in the middle of the night. He said, "What is going on? What's happening?" He said there were dozens. He said maybe 100 of these things flying all over the town of Blacksburg, and nobody knew what was going on.
He was seeing them?
He was seeing them. He was sending me videos of them. It's weird. Yeah,
Is
so
it,
he has seen them firsthand. Something strange is going on in these mountains and I guess all over the planet now. How far has this gone?
yeah. Oh,
New
I've heard
Jersey.
it's a global phenomenon is what I'm hearing. And
Yeah.
is this Blacksburg, Virginia?
Yeah,
Okay.
where Virginia Tech is. I don't
Okay.
know. So, yeah, they're here. And, some are saying they're here because there's one of the biggest military arsenals here in Radford. It's right between Blacksburg and Radford.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of talk about these are in areas that have military installations. I don't know. What do you know? That's what I want to know.
Well, I mean, just for the historical record, or for people that absolutely have no idea what's going on, there have been, it started with drone sightings over New Jersey around November 3rd or 10th, and then it just escalated to tons of drone sightings. Like they're saying often car size drones that look like they might have propellers or they might have human-like tech, a lot of them, but they were
Yeah.
just seen everywhere, hovering low, moving fast, and eventually the local police and many local, even local politicians started going out to see for themselves, and they've been seeing them. And the U.S. government has been gaslighting uh, us with their responses. Admiral Kirby and military guy and Mayorkas, I guess. They've all been coming out and saying these are all just misidentified airplanes or planets or
Or citizens. I've heard that
yeah,
one,
just
it's like a bunch
amateur.
of teenagers. Yeah.
Yeah, and misidentified amateur hobbyists. They're like, oh, people just started putting up drones like crazy because they heard about this, and so they're just gaslighting, and it's
Yeah.
really upsetting the local politicians and the people in New Jersey, and it's spread beyond, way beyond New Jersey now. It's gone into many other states, and it seems to. And yesterday, for the first time, I heard of a couple being seen over Tacoma, so it's reached my state finally.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah.
yeah, so that's been happening, and
So wait, before you go on, I've heard that they've been seen in other countries, like
yeah.
even in Moscow. And have you heard that too, or is that a
Yep.
rumor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ross Coulthart said he gets emails from all over the world of reports, and he's saying almost every country, Russia, China, India, there has been he says it's clearly a global phenomenon, and oh, definitely England. It actually may have even started at over U.S. bases in England
Wow.
earlier in November. Yeah, so that's the kind of the basic gist of where we are, and I just wanted to sort of like go over with you the escalation of what has happened around this.
Okay.
Um,
Well, do you think, now this is what I have been looking at just since you texted me, that there's all these shorts and memes coming out now about Project Bluebeam. So I don't know if our listeners have heard about that. So why don't you explain what that is, Project Bluebeam?
Project Bluebeam is the supposed code name for a fake alien invasion that has been planned in order to scare the world into forming a one world government, basically.
Yeah.
So that's been floating around for a long time, and Stephen Greer is, I think, credited with being one to talk about it a lot because he firmly believes that's what's going to happen, a fake alien invasion in order to form a one world government.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Get your
all right.
popcorn. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, let's see. So, you ready for me to sort of go through my debrief?
Jump in. Yes.
Okay. Well, interesting developments. Lou Elizondo has, first of all, Ryan Graves was on Joe Rogan Monday, and I watched the whole interview. Ryan Graves is a former Navy pilot who I did meet briefly at the Soul Foundation. He's been a big part of the UFO disclosure movement. He testified before Congress under oath last year with David Grush and Commander Fravor. And he's formed Citizens for Safe Aerospace, I believe is the correct name for it, an organization that has now been a point that all aviation people have been able to use as sort of their whistleblower route, and they're submitting. He actually has on his site, where you can submit reports about anything, and he'll document it, investigate it, and even give you a path to talk to Congress if you want to go that way. Um, so they have both taken gloves off, and the first thing that happened was December 14th, 4 days ago. Lou Elizondo went on X and said, he said to Donald Trump, said, "Sir, the fiasco this current administration has gotten us into regarding drones is unacceptable. We have been ringing the alarm bell since 2017. For the sake of the American people, please enable Tulsi Gabbard and the rest of your cabinet to fix this issue once and for all and come clean with the American people. Between Tulsi, RFK, and others in your staff, we can do this. I know you share our perspective and thank you for your courage. To address this, know that you have a small army of former government officials ready to help any way we can. America can handle the truth, and America deserves the truth."
Oh my goodness. So that was on X, huh?
Yeah, and that is very unusual for Lou. I mean, he just testified before Congress under oath, and for him to
Right.
just call out the president and basically say now is the time, that was a big that was unusual. Um, I feel like that's a big moment, and I feel like he may be very well communicating with Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, and Trump behind the scenes. Um,
So did Trump, was there any reply?
yeah, Trump did. In fact, I could just play that so we could have the audio. It's a really short clip
Okay.
of Trump's response here. He didn't respond, but the next day he did a press conference and he took a question on it. And let me see if I got a good clip of this. All right, let me share with audio. Let's see. I'll try this.
A special drone detection system now being deployed here in New York State as it comes as authorities continue to investigate several reported drone sightings throughout our area.
Situation. Here's what President-elect Trump had to say.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people. And
So that was, and I believe literally that was the next day. So Lou Elizondo says, or maybe that was, yes, 17th. So 3 days later. So Lou Elizondo says, President Trump, now is the time. 3 days later, Trump comes out and speaks on it. And then yesterday, Ryan Graves went on Joe Rogan, and they were diving into it. And this was really, Ryan said that these military, that these bases have been seeing every December for the last 3 years. They've been seeing drones like this fly all over them. And so this is not a new, I mean, it's not only just that UAPs have been going on, but he says just like the drones, just like this, every December at about the same time, they have been going all over a lot of military bases. This year, it escalated and went massively all over New Jersey residential areas, and now is expanding in a way it never did the last 2 years. So I
Oh,
found
I've
that.
heard, yeah, I've heard they've, been around. I mean, even biblical story. I mean, they've been here forever, but so why is it so prevalent now? Is it because they think that we are ready for it? Or I don't know. What do you think is really behind all this? Are we going to see a massive disclosure? Are
I
we ready?
mean, well, I mean, I agree with you. They've been seen, and I guess it's almost good to, I think, distinguish between drones and UAPs, because, and these are like, or exotic drones. I mean, because these drones are not normal drones. These are like advanced drones that seem to have really advanced technology. They have the ability to hover for like 8 hours. They can go much faster than than known drones, and they have the ability to cloak themselves and disguise their energy signature. This is something Ryan Graves said. So these advanced drones, they're like one type of UFO, and then there's orbs and super fast flying tic tacs and stuff. And all these things, I think you're right, they've been seen since ancient times. But it looks like these exotic drones specifically have been hitting military bases, I think, for the last 3 years. Um, so yeah, what exactly is happening? Um,
I think, and this
mhm,
comes from, I'm sure you know more about it, that some UFOs can shut down nuclear facilities,
yeah, that's
right?
been
Maybe
that's
that's
definitely been reported. Oh yeah, that has been reported that in Russia and in the US, there are some old stories of them being able to do that. So there's definitely one theory that a non-human intelligence is showing themselves, and they are possibly doing that in order to prevent nuclear war. And they're lingering, and they're just sitting there ready uh, to stop us from launching any nukes or doing anything stupid. And that it's like time. I mean, that is definitely one narrative out there.
so maybe they're positioning themselves over the military bases because they're going to have the big reveal and come and introduce themselves, but they're putting their thumb on all of the military, so that we can't react in a military way, we can't shoot them down. So if they're shutting down the military bases so they can come and introduce themselves, that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it that totally could be what's happening. Um and there
So do
was
you think now, do you really, I mean, I'm still kind of wondering, is this all just a man-made, you know, sort of show? Is this coming from our military? Is this all, in other words, do you think this could be Project Bluebeam?
um could it be, I mean, if it's a fake alien invasion, they're kind of skipping the invasion part. This is They're just
Yeah.
like lingering in the sky.
I
So
saw a funny meme that said, "This is the slowest alien invasion I've ever seen."
yeah,
But,
and they're only invading between 5:30 and 11 at night.
oh,
And they're
interesting.
only doing it in certain parts of the country. I mean, if they wanted to scare us, then and put a panic into human society, they're doing this in a really slow, gentle way. It seems more like acclimatizing than it is to trying to shock and scare us.
Yeah, yeah. Or they're just doing step one, shut down all the military functions. I don't know.
Could be, could be. I just don't I just feel more optimistic about the nature of the situation we're sitting in. I For some reason I just think it's gonna be a really fun scenario. Like
Yeah,
there's good ETs and they are coming to intervene because they're like, now is the time to reveal themselves to help humanity free ourselves from the secret government that's been ruling Earth since ancient times and the secret keepers that have been hiding the truth and benefiting themselves. In my opinion, it might even be cyclical. Like this is my Elizabeth April. She said she remote viewed, um, ancient Egypt, and she said there was a day that the Anunnaki, or not the that the Galactic Federation showed up and told the reptilians and the Anunnaki, you can't keep enslaving humans, and they made it stop, and they helped humanity, start to form our own societies, and then, maybe they left but they've been watching and they're like, okay, it's time for us to come back because humanity's kind of enslaved again by the secret keepers, and we're going to help you break out again. And then once we get a little bit of liberated, they might leave again and be like, all right, you're on your own, and or they might let us join the galactic community, maybe.
so that's, when you say we're on our own, and I think that's kind of what we want. We just want any negative forces out there to leave us alone, to so we can just create our own societies. But what does that look like? That's no, everybody's focusing on the dangers and the threats, and we've got to be ready for whatever, but nobody's looking at what are we going to rebuild afterwards if we get rid of all of this stranglehold on society that makes us slaves. um if that's gone, then who are we? Because we've built our whole identity around it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I mean, I felt this way a long time that humanity needs to just rethink completely how it organizes, how it shares power, and I've
Absolutely.
been, you
More
and I have been talking about,
decentralized, yeah.
yeah, and I feel like that's part of why disclosure has not happened because the even the good people in the government that are like, okay, we want to disclose, they're scared that it will cause a collapse of like governments and chaos, and it
Yes.
might cause global civil wars and revolution and all sorts. So they're trying to have it go in a smooth way. They don't want to, like, they don't necessarily want to collapse the US government. They want to maybe transition it into a healthier democracy without secret keepers deep in the deep state and the CIA controlling everything and killing presidents and
Right.
making themselves rich.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Oh my goodness.
But I got a picture I want to show you,
Yeah.
that I found very interesting, that I'm, well, I mean, I'm making it, but it's a picture of what is going on. All right,
Nice.
in this, you able to see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So Lou Elizondo and Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
So this is something I realized. Let's go here. All right. So Stephen Greer has been on the Sean Ryan show and the Danica Patrick show.
Yeah.
Lou Elizondo has been on Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman. Oh no, he hasn't been on Lex Friedman, but he's him and his type, like Ryan Graves and his crew. I think I have a better picture over here. This is I call it the USA Controlled Disclosure Team. And you've got Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, Hal Puthoff, Ryan Graves, Alex Dietrich, Commander Fravor, I forget this guy's name, David Grush, Gallaudet. Then you also have Carl Nell. And then you have some people in Congress, uh, Rubio, Gillibrand, Burchett, Schumer, Rounds. These, I think, Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon have been leading this like Delta force of disclosure people, and they have, and I believe this is like the crew inside the U.S. government, maybe in the naval intelligence or in the space force. Uh, they're the ones who have been like, we need to disclose, but they don't want to disclose everything. They don't want to disclose. Oops. What they are ready to disclose, and they say this time and time again. Sorry, they are ready to disclose that non-human intelligence are real. There are extraterrestrials from other planets that are visiting us, and we could and should be developing non-human tech or advanced tech. But so far, we've made no progress. This is their story. We have not made any anti-gravity or anything like that.
Yeah, right.
But we really should try. We've been trying for years, like Ross Coulthard, and they all, it's funny, the journalists, they all say that Ross Coulthard is like, I've heard it from people on the inside. They've never made any progress with this stuff. And
Yeah.
Eric Davis at the Seoul conference, big famous whistleblower, he said the same thing. It's like, we've never been able to solve any of this.
I
And
don't know. I
yeah,
mean, I think even the transistor radio, back when I was 13 years old, it was coming out, it was a big deal. I think
mhm,
that was alien technology.
yeah, yeah.
Everything
So,
went from great big, vacuum tubes in the television sets down to
mhm.
these eensy tiny little transistors overnight. It's like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Oh yeah, fiber optic cables, but the big ones, anti-gravity and zero point energy.
Yeah.
And and so anyways, these guys, so Lou Elizondo and this crew, it seems like they want to say aliens are real, but they don't want to give away anything about the level of tech and advancements they've gotten from it. But they're trying really hard to just let this narrative come out with this basic first thing: NHI are real and they're ETs from other planets. They absolutely are not going into there's possibly reptilians living inside the earth for millions of years. Like it's like they're scared to even mention that theory.
Okay.
um
Yeah.
like, and Joe Rogan, he will talk about aliens living in the earth, but whenever he has like he tried to do it with Ryan Graves, and he tried to do it um with and he tried to talk about, like, Joe Rogan will try to talk about S4 and Lou Elizondo, and whenever he has like, or not S4, Bob Lazar, he'll try to talk about Bob Lazar, and whenever he does, he had Christopher Mellon on and he had Ryan Graves on, and they refuse to talk about Bob Lazar. They refuse to confirm or anything about Bob Lazar because Bob Lazar says S4, you know, it has possibly an well, he didn't quite say S4 has an underground base, but he says S4 is real. And that ties to other stories like from Bill Cooper that there is a deep underground base at S4, as well as anti-gravity technology using element 115. Like the Lou Elizondo crew do not want, it seems, anything about anti-gravity to come out. They do not want us to know that that's real. They don't want any governments to know.
So, and what about free energy? I mean, we've heard about that time and time again, the whole 0 point energy thing.
Yeah,
And
they don't talk about that either.
right, yeah.
But it's interesting that these drones that are flying all over New Jersey and being seen, they're not displaying anti-gravity, but they plausibly are displaying an infinite energy source. And so it's
Mm,
almost like they're, by allowing these drones to go crazy, you know, it's almost like possibly showing us advanced energy tech. So maybe they're ready to let the advanced energy tech come to the world, but they aren't ready for the anti-gravity tech to be revealed.
interesting. Well, just the if there were 0 point energy, that would just transform humanity overnight.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would lead to, I think, an age of abundance. That's what I've been. It could solve. I mean, and that's something Stephen Greer has said, and others have said. Zero point energy. It ends the petrodollar. It ends the dominance of fossil fuel industry, and it creates a possibility for wealth globally.
I'm
Yeah, and
ready.
that might be true.
What? Yeah, I'm
So,
ready for that. I'm
yeah.
yeah.
But this is the sort of like amazing thing that I finally was able to see. It's just the Sean Ryan show and the Danica Patrick show have had Stephen Greer on, and Sean Ryan is really in. He has had like a bunch of Stephen Greer whistleblowers, um, and I'll just slide this down to show because on the Stephen Greer side, they are willing to say, him and his whistleblowers, that first of all, they say Lou Elizondo and his whole crew are intelligence agents trying to control the agenda. And all the media that Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon and Graves and Grush are allowed to go on are part of it. Cold Heart, even these guys, these are from that UFO podcast, the hosts of that, and even maybe even George Knapp, but they're like coordinated. They're cooperating with this, uh, you know, this strategy of the Lou Elizondo crew to only reveal the bare minimum. But on the
Well,
Stephen Greer side, him and his people will go on the Sean Ryan show, and they will say the U.S. has anti-gravity since the '60s. They also, Stephen Greer goes around saying he has a list of all the U.S. secret underground bases. and
ooh,
and and one of his whistleblowers says that the Antarctica, I think it's Ice Cube Station, has neutrino detectors that basically can see every flying UFO with advanced anti-gravity tech flying all around Earth and in our universe, literally, because these neutrinos go right through planets and everything. He basically said you can just see every single like anti-gravity ship flying around. But his crew also don't mention the reptilians living in the earth. I don't hear Stephen Greer talking about that. He does not. So they both groups are scared to talk about the reptilians living in the earth, it seems.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it isn't. It's just like I realized it's just sort of fascinating that these Stephen Greer and his people, they only will be able to go on certain podcasts, and Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon and their crew, they will go on another set of podcasts, and they don't overlap. There are very few people that can overlap the two worlds, and it just sort of fascinated me that Danica Patrick and Sean Ryan both, um, they're able to get Stephen Greer on and all them, but they can't get any of Lou Elizondo's crew on their podcast. It's like you will not see uh, Christopher Mellon, Fravor, Graves, Pudoff, Brush, any of them um, on their podcast. It's like
But they will go on the Joe Rogan, right?
yeah, they'll go on Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, that UFO podcast. I mean, they'll talk to. It's just like it's so clearly a delineation of two teams, and it's just like I mean it created a really plausible scenario to me because I mean you can understand like a this the let's just suppose there are good guys, like let's say Lou Elizondo. I'm not saying he's malicious. I'm just saying he's on Team USA. We want to keep our advantages hidden, so
Sure.
he would not want everyone to know we have anti-gravity, and he wouldn't want a list of all our secret bases out there,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he
Yeah.
wouldn't want it shown that Antarctica has this incredibly powerful, important thing, or that he wouldn't want, there's also other theories about Antarctica that there's big, big things in Antarctica, like secret alien bases and stuff. And none of the Lou Elizondo crew will talk about that. And it's possible that the, that maybe the aliens, some group of the aliens, let's say the reptilians that have been sort of manipulating things behind the scenes. And I'm not saying all reptilians are bad, but I'm saying it seems like there's a reptilian civilization that might be behind the deep state. They might be, maybe they could even be behind Stephen Greer, because they might be like, look, fine, if you're going to disclose us, we are going to disclose a bunch of secrets you don't want known at the same time, like where your bases are, exactly where your weapons are, what your level of technology are. And so I'm not saying Stephen Greer he might not know he's part of that, but he could be, um, they could even be feeding Stephen Greer some of this info, but they're like, look, put this all out there because they're trying to like
Oh,
mess with
interesting.
the
Yeah.
real, yeah.
So do you think Stephen Greer could go on Joe Rogan?
He's never been on, and it's like it's really kind of amazing he's never been on. It's like Joe Rogan has had Bob Lazar, he's had everyone on, and Lex Friedman also. He claims to be like willing to interview anyone. He'll interview Putin, but not Stephen Greer. Like if you are if you're not willing to give Stephen Greer, the time of day, you just seem to be clearly on the.
That's interesting. Yeah, you wonder. Yeah, it's almost like, wow, that's worth contacting Joe Rogan and say, why won't you put him on? Or would you please? Maybe he hasn't even been invited. I don't know. Or maybe he hasn't been considered.
Oh, I don't. I'm sure Stephen Greer would do it in a second. I
Yeah.
just think, yeah. Well, I mean, if you watch, I mean, sometimes I watch Joe Rogan. Like I watched him interview Ryan Graves, and I'm like, I clearly believe. I watched every second of that interview yesterday, and it was amazing. I think Ryan Graves is awesome, but I do think he's been coordinating with the good guys in the Lou Elizondo camp of disclosure in the government. I don't really believe any of them are former government, you know, agents. They've been working secretly for the disclosure group in the government, even out of government. And that's why it was awkward for me when I met him at Seoul. I was like, I can't talk to you, Ryan Graves, without because I believe you're secretly a secret agent, basically. And
Right.
I don't want to expose him. I don't want to call him on it. Although now I regret if I got another chance to talk to him in private or to interview him, I mean, I'd be tempted to be like, so Ryan, what do you think of Bob Lazar? Because I know they don't want to talk about that. They don't, and I'd be like, so what do you think of Element 115? And I would just be like, hey, Ryan Graves, could you do me a favor and just say the word Element 115? Because I bet he wouldn't be able to say it because they are forbidden, Lou, and then they are forbidden to talk about Element 115. So I would have like that, but I'm like, it wouldn't be serving humanity for me to expose Ryan Graves as a secret agent.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Um,
I mean, if these are part of a team that is trying to hold all of this technology back from humanity, why not just expose it? Next
I
time you
mean,
meet him, say all these questions and record it.
yeah, I mean, I guess, I mean, so it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, for now, I'm just comfortable seeing, okay, I can see who the teams are, and I mean, I can see that. I mean, because the Lou Elizondo crew, they are following rules. They are like they can say certain things and they can't say certain things. And so it's like
Right.
when Christopher Mellon was on Joe Rogan, it was hilarious when they were talking about Bob Lazar because Christopher Mellon would not say S4 and he would not say element 115. He used a different word for some word I've never heard of. That was like he was like, oh yeah, Bob Lazar talked about this. I forget what the word was, but it was he wouldn't even say the correct phrase that Bob said, and Joe Rogan had to correct him. You mean element 115? And Mellon was like, "Oh, yeah, is that what he said? I don't remember." It was like,
Uh-oh. Wow, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, God, I almost can't think about all of this too much because we just don't know. I want it to just all come out. My problem is I'm so skeptical now that even if all the truth came out, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. I probably doubt it. I don't know. Government cover up. I'm so skeptical. I probably wouldn't believe anything right now.
well, so there's also two interesting things that happen. There's two remote viewers. Elizabeth April remote viewed the drones in New Jersey, and a woman named Birdie, who's part of the Citizens for Disclosure group that I'm doing with the New Paradigm Institute and Danny Sheehan. They both put on YouTube remote viewing of the drones, and they were very interesting. I actually think Birdie was the most interesting. You see her raw remote viewing. She's like sketching on paper and just like, and she didn't even know she was targeting the drones. It was a hidden target that she was given to just remote view it. About halfway through her session, she was like, I she was like, I think I might be remote viewing the drones in New Jersey because she was,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
But she was like, when she tried to like see who was controlling them, she saw a vast, strange intelligence. And it was really alien to her, but it was not malicious. And it was saying things like, it's time for us to show ourselves. We can do anything we want. And it was like basically like that. And she was kind of freaked out by it. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
And and Elizabeth April also did a remote viewing, and she said she saw this underground base in New Jersey, a vast like hangar underground where these drones were coming from. And she said it was kind of old, out of date, reverse engineered tech from these UFOs. So it was like first generation uh, tech using some, like maybe it was using 0 point energy or stuff, but not using any gravity. So that's where she said it was coming from, but she had a hard time seeing who was the decision maker that was controlling these drones, that was made the decision for them to come out. So it's not inconceivable that it's the same intelligence that made that ordered these drones to be doing what they're doing.
Now, so if she says they're coming from underground bases, do you think there are underground bases all over the world, like in Russia and China and India that are, I mean,
Yeah, I
these
do think there
drones,
are.
they're not all coming out of New Jersey and going to Russia. I mean,
Oh no, I think they're all over. I mean, I think there's been NHI here for millions of years. I think there's underground bases all over the earth, in the ocean.
yeah,
I think there's some that are human military, and there's some. I think Bill Cooper was telling the truth that there are joint human and alien bases, some on Earth, and yeah, I don't have any. And also, I mean, these drones could be coming out of a mothership that has anti-gravity that like is the size of an aircraft carrier that just zips in cloaked, lets them out, and then picks them back up. They could be coming from anywhere.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, we're
Yeah.
all, it's suspenseful. What, oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm like believing it. I'm wanting to believe it, but yeah, I'm gonna have to really be convinced that this is all alien technology. Because a lot of me thinks, oh, and it is getting mixed up because now you've got police forces sending up their drones to check it out, and then no doubt you've got anybody with a drone going out and sending those up. So it's all getting mixed up. But yeah, I need to really be convinced. I've read so much about Project Bluebeam and but it's living in the don't know, I guess. How
There's-
convinced are you so far?
What that aliens are real?
Well, no, not that I think I believe aliens are real. I'm trying to figure out what all these drone things are.
I mean, it almost doesn't matter if they are controlled by like good guys in the US government, good guys, or it doesn't even matter because it's waking up, it's making everyone talk about UAPs. It's
Yeah.
making and that's what needs to happen. It unless these things drop a bomb or do something malicious, all they're doing is good for disclosure. So
Hmm.
it doesn't but it seems to me it's on the side, and it seems to me that's literally their purpose. Their purpose is to embarrass the current administration into either disclosing, or it's just going to make them look like fools, gaslighting to say these things are not there, and to put
Mm.
pressure on the incoming administration to disclose. Like that's what's happening right now. The buildup, the pressure on you know, on Trump to disclose as soon as he gets into office is if this keeps going until his inauguration day, there's going to be and that's probably what he wants. Enormous pressure because I think he wants to disclose. But he needs the populace to be demanding it to really sort of have it go down well.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
It's
And
pretty exciting.
yeah. So, and this the Ryan Graves interview was incredible. So he went into a theory of where they came from. They went deep into the theory that you know, if our universe has super advanced intelligence anywhere in it, it's possible, it's even logical that this thing sent out probes to other planets. It may have even seeded life on Earth, and it may have sent probes to Earth. I mean, this scenario is what Ryan Graves described. He said maybe they sent out probes, maybe they got to Earth, and maybe they used the biological material here to create, not only to create their ships, but to create their occupants of the ships. And maybe that's what's been going on this whole time. And it's been here and it's been, and they talked about this as a custodian. Maybe this thing is just a custodian of Earth and it's just intervening now because we're screwing up the environment. And they were like, and it was Ryan Graves really was clear. He's like, maybe this is it. I felt like he was describing a theory that could have come out of the Soul Foundation think tank. Like this, that may be the narrative they actually think happened.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I do have a feeling that as soon as Trump is in, everything's going to change. I mean, he did say, I saw him say on some short going around saying they know, the government knows what's going on and isn't telling us. Did you see that one?
Yeah, that was Trump said that in his statement.
Right. Yeah.
And I think he posted, I think he probably posted something like on Twitter like that. But then I want to tell you another thing that Ryan said.
Okay.
He Rogan was like, well, what do we do about this? And Graves was like, I think that the president needs to create like a UAP disclosure czar. And he was saying that Arrow, the current UAP group, is not appropriate to be investigating this because they're inside the Pentagon and the Pentagon might have committed crimes. They can't investigate themselves. So
Right.
the president needs to create a UAP disclosure czar and a group, and he needs to just do an executive order to do that. And this was really specific from Ryan. He needs to rescind the executive order that he believes was signed in by Eisenhower that allows them to hide this information from Congress and the president. So he was really specific about that. I'm sure he was, that almost came from the
Absolutely.
Danny Sheehan land. But then Rogan was like, if he creates a UAP czar, would you, Ryan Graves, be willing to take on that job? And Ryan was like, absolutely. I would like,
Really?
I was asked, I would absolutely, take this on him. And literally like half the interview, I'm like, he's auditioning. He is like challenging Trump to create this position and he's auditioning for it. And
For the
basically,
job.
yeah. And I was like, and it's perfect because he's created this aerospace, the Citizens for Safe Aerospace, which is literally like demonstrating he has the capability to create an organization for this topic. And his organization already has right on his front page, a form for anyone to report this. And he could basically just say to Trump, we can take the structure of what I've already built and take even my like people and staff and bring it right into an organization. And Ryan was basically saying, I am ready to be the spokesperson for the president on this. And then they played the speech of Reagan, where Reagan talked about aliens and said, there's this famous speech to the UN where Reagan said, if maybe what the Earth needs is a threat of alien invasion to unite us in peace. And Joe Rogan
Into
said,
one world government, right? That's the whole
yeah,
one world
but I mean,
government.
you don't have to like look at it as like it's going to go into an authoritarian government. It could be a peaceful one world
Yeah.
government. And he was just saying peace. It could just like spur us to peace. But when Joe Rogan, he like saw that, he played the speech, and then Joe was like, "Wow, that was a good speech." And there was this amazing pause, and Ryan Graves was like, "Yeah, maybe it's time for another one." And it was like
Whoa.
really powerful. It was like it was so. I made a little clip of it on YouTube, but
Oh, if you could show it. Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen clips, little bits of that, but how
yeah,
long was
here.
it?
Why don't I go ahead and show it? I
Yeah.
really found it like a dramatic moment.
Yeah.
Here, one moment.
Big question. Has the state of Israel made contact with aliens?
Stop. Okay, one moment here while I get this queued
That was a good question. What was the answer?
up.
I wonder. I have wondered if Israel is in touch with one kind of entity. You think it's the reptilians?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I'm ready to be wowed. I want to see what's out there. I think most Americans at this point are ready. I mean, they're still going to be surprised and probably faint, but I think we're ready for it.
I mean, ready or not, I think
Yeah.
it's 227. We'll go back just a tiny bit.
He talked about how united we would all be if the threat of an alien invasion was happening on Earth, how quickly we would put aside our differences.
Well, that's why we have the red phone with Russia, right? To
Is
be
it
able
really
to,
red? Is it really red?
yeah, it used to be. I'm sure it's, a text message now,
I
but
wonder if they even have a phone anymore.
well, they do. And they do with China as well now, although it's less
But isn't
public.
it like a phone? Like, hello? Like,
I
you hold
honestly
it up
don't
to
know
your
the
ear?
structure of it. It used to be, but it was there in order to, let's watch
Let's
this.
hear this.
All the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? 2 centuries ago, in a hall much smaller than this one, in Philadelphia, Americans met to draft.
Hell of a speech.
Yeah. Maybe it's time for another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they know, tell us.
Maybe it's time for another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for another one.
I mean, his eyes, I feel like Ryan was just like, he's like, he's talking straight to both presidents. I mean, he really, because there's no reason Biden couldn't just do that. I mean, Biden tomorrow could be like, you know what? I heard Ryan Graves on Joe Rogan. He's right. We need a UAP disclosure task force, and I'm going to appoint Ryan Graves right now as one of my last acts as president, because that way he could take credit for it. Like if, if
Yeah.
Trump finishes it, Biden could be like, it all started with me. Like,
Yeah. Right. Well, that would be a good thing. I kind of doubt that's going to happen though, but I think Trump will do it.
it's it is going to be, and I mean, it just seems like how could Trump get into office now and not disclose the JFK assassination files? And I mean, if he does, what's he going to do? I mean, people will be, I mean, it just seems like everything is being laid on the table for him to do this.
Yeah.
He's got everyone.
I just wonder how much is going to come out, because this is going to affect everything. If there was a complete 100% disclosure, can you imagine the power structures that would implode and crumble? And I don't think they're going to go down peacefully.
Well, that's why I think it's going to be this. This is what's going to disclose. NHI are real. These ET are from other planets, and we need to start working on it. They're not going to mention reptilians, and they're just going to. I think that's it. They're like just the bare minimum, and then they can drip out the other things. Like they'll drip out maybe over the course of a year. They'll be like, look, we've got 0 point energy, we've got anti-gravity. We're talking to these ETs on other planets. They're in no rush to say, oh yeah, reptilians have been here behind the scenes manipulating things, and they're in our oceans, and they can look like humans. They don't. Oh my! This was another thing that happened during the Ryan Graves interview. They touched on human cloning. I could not believe this. Like they were talking about that scientists have just figured out how to make an embryo, a human embryo, from just DNA.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that they can take a skin cell and make it into those kinds of cells that can turn into anything, and then they can stimulate it to clone to start growing into an embryo. It's like, oh my God, oh, stem cell. They turn it into a stem cell, and then they can tell it, I don't know how, with to just clone itself. And they put it, and they're doing this now. And now they're talking about uploading consciousness into, into these avatars that they're creating. So we're
Yeah, it
going
was,
into some crazy, crazy world.
and that's the edge, like human cloning, the idea that maybe politicians or people have been replaced by clones, that is so, I mean, people think that about Biden. Even I heard
Yeah.
that, in fact, there's a guy on X named Cab, Kab, who claims to communicate with the Pleiadians and stuff, and he seriously claims to know everything going on behind the scenes. He says they're preparing ourselves, and he says human cloning is real, and he says Biden was replaced. And I asked him yesterday or the day before, I was like, "What about Mike Pompeo? Is he on the side of good or bad?" And he was like, he showed some pictures and he's like, there's evidence that Mike Pompeo was replaced. He's lost a lot of weight. There's this photo of him with a boot. You know, that's indications of he's been cloned and replaced. And anyways, that's way out there for me. But I could
Yeah.
not believe Ryan Graves and Joe Rogan got into it. It's like opening the door for human cloning to enter the discussion, which, I mean, if you think of it, if you're on Team Lou Elizondo and you're ready to say ETs are real, but let's just say human cloning is real. If there really are humans that can look like anyone and yet be taken over by an alien or bad guys, that's kind of something you have to reveal in order to end it. I mean, if politicians or anyone has been replaced by clones, it's like that would be urgent. Like I can't see, there's no way Lou Elizondo and them are in a room like, okay, we're gonna hide from the American people that there's humans that look like that are not human. They have to release that. So it's like Ryan Graves yesterday opening the door to the human cloning discussion, like totally opens the door to give them a pathway to reveal this truth at some point. Maybe not immediately, but I don't know.
You
And it's
know, maybe this is what immortality is. I mean, maybe is what the halls of Amente were talking about in the Emerald Tablets, the ancient Egypt mystic teachings, that they go down these pharaohs that could live for, hundreds of years. They do get old, but then they go down into the halls of Amenti. Maybe that's where they have an avatar, right? And they just hook into the avatar and they come out all refreshed and brand new. Oh my goodness, I could do that. I would love that. I've got all kinds of, metal in my body from surgeries and stuff. I need a new body. Maybe they can upload me into a new avatar of myself. That'd be
I
cool.
mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm totally in favor of the health technology getting, I mean, life, changing technology for health. It's if they got that, that would be, I mean, I could see that being, there's no reason for Team Lou Elizondo to not reveal that, life extending technology, that NHI are real, maybe human cloning so that we know that there could be humans that are really controlled by someone else. Like that could be stuff they want to let out. Nothing about weapons, nothing about anti-gravity. But this discussion did make me realize not only does Stephen Greer never mention the reptilians in the earth, he also never mentions human cloning or people being replaced. That is a topic he never delves into.
Interesting. I think I think you're right. I've never heard him talk about those.
So again, and so if Stephen Greer was an agent for the reptilians, those would be two topics they wouldn't want ever said. Because apparently they do that, right? That would be one forbidden area for Stephen Greer. Don't talk about humans that look like humans but are really controlled by aliens, because that would be giving away their deepest method. That seems to be potentially one of their methods, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't even talk about it to dismiss it. He doesn't talk about it at all, right? He doesn't even talk about reptilians to dismiss them. He never touches the topic.
Yeah. I wonder. Well, I'm wondering a lot. In fact, my brain is about ready to explode. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's exciting, though. I think we have to kind of encourage people to not overreact because really we just don't know. We just don't know right now. But a
Yeah.
lot of people are getting scared. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the people I find the most interesting right now are the remote viewers. So like Elizabeth April, Birdie, and even the Farsight Institute, they all claim to be able to remote view, and they, even though they don't match perfectly, they all seem to be getting they all seem to chime together their what they're seeing, and it all seems to lead me to see that there are some, rather aggressive authoritarian, maybe, reptilians in the earth, but there seems to be a very powerful and much more positive, enlightened group or super powerful AI that is also here helping us transition to an incredible new world. It just might be a bit bumpy and rough, the transition point, I think.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling too. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So, yeah, I think the less we are anxious about it, the smoother it'll go. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So did you have time to do a meditation, or do you want to do, what do you want to
well,
do?
why don't we just take one breath because we're already past the hour. So
Sure.
if that
Yeah.
works for you. All right. Oh my goodness. Feet on the floor. Feet on the floor. This is what we can be sure that it is real. Our feet are on the floor. And let's breathe in and listen to a bell ringing. Hear the vibration on your eardrum. We don't know what's happening out there, but we know what's happening right here. Let's listen to this. Take a deep breath. Yeah, we can always come back to the breath. Anytime we feel anxious or worried or even frightened, we can still feel our feet on the floor, feel our breath, hear things like birds that are happening right in our environment. Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real with what we know. So that's it. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Dora.
Have a great week.
You too. Some of you are star seeds. Some of you are pure star. Some of you can let yourself dance, and some of you seem not. But you are all alive. You are all alive. You are all permitted now to be free. Aliens are real. Some of us are aliens. What really is an alien? Who are we? Gather in Port Townsend.